You threw me for a loop. You normally hit record, then do levels. You did levels, then hit record, and no, I'm not even sure where we're at. Where are we at?
I thought I would try to do levels first before we actually do the levels to actually make the levels work.
Oh, did it?
I don't know.
Levels.
Yeah, that looks good.
Yeah.
So, among other things that I'm watching, I'm rewatching some of The West Wing.
I'm proud for you remembering that that's a TV show. Wait, some of?
That's a spoiler for a show that hasn't happened.
Understood.
I don't know, fits and spurts as I'm bored between things.
I'm pretty sure that's season 3, episode 6. No, episode 7, fits and spurts. It's right after the big block of cheese. Oh no, I'm mistaken. Fits and spurts. Wasn't that the names of the two secretaries of defense he had? Hey, Fitz.
The two guys that came
spurts.
Over from accounting with fits and spurts. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I derailed you.
Yes. So at one point, you remember in the pilot where Toby and some others are stuck on an airplane and needs to make a phone call?
Yeah, barely. Yeah, okay.
Vaguely, right?
Yep.
So Toby says, we're flying in a Lockheed Eagle Series L-1011. It came off the line 20 months ago. It carries a SIM5 transponder tracking system. Are you telling me I can still flummox this thing with something I bought at a Radio Shack? And I'm watching this thinking to myself, wow, that's a line that does not hold up. There's so many things that I think are probably wrong with that, Todd. We're a tech podcast, an aviation geek podcast, and a phone podcast. Can we break down the number of things that are wrong with that line?
Oh, absolutely. You didn't say 50 words because I'm going to need way, way more than 50 at this point.
Okay. I tell you what, you can be off by a full Dewayne. Maybe 2 full Dewaynes.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Let's go. Here we go.
Buckle up, toddlers. I see turbulence ahead. Hi, toddlers. Welcome to Talking to Todd, a weekly podcast with Dewayne Johnson and Todd Prinz, where failure is always an option. Thanks for joining us. Hey, Todd.
So another thing, listen. So look, the L-1011 was manufactured between 1968 and 1984. So unless this took place in 1986, which I'm pretty sure it didn't, it couldn't have come off the line 20 months ago. Also, by the way, a transponder isn't a tracker. It transmits and it responds, but it is not a tracker. And I don't even know. And you can't just put something from Radio Shack because then you got to fill out paperwork and it all has to be certified by anyway. Oh, hey, how's it going?
And he bought his phone at Radio Shack? Even when Radio Shack was a thing, I'm not sure people did that. I mean, maybe they did.
Oh, no. I think that was a big thing. Yeah.
The people bought their phones at Radio Shack?
Yeah. Where else were you going to
remote control cars?
Where else were you going to get your Motorola bag phone from?
When West Wing came out?
By then, we'd moved on to Motorola flip phones. And
Razors.
And
I wanted a Razor at that point.
Yeah. But at some point, I think by that point, Radio Shack had figured out they weren't going to stay in business as a nationwide firm selling AA batteries that you have to give your email or your phone number for, and transistors at 2 cents a piece. So they moved out maybe into phones, but anyway, yeah, that's for a well-researched show that there was all sorts of problems.
It was the pilot. It was early. They were still making their way. And Sorkin was also doing Sports Night at the same time.
So
and lots of drugs.
Yeah, I was gonna say because he likes to get things just right. That tells me that when he wrote the pilot, originally what popped in my head was the amount of cocaine he was doing. He either needed to do more or less because that amount wasn't correct. But now that you point out he was doing that while doing Sports Night, he was doing 2 shows. The answer is he needed to do less because he couldn't have done more. And made it to season 4.
Oh, so pretty good. There's I'm watching some things and also The West Wing, I guess. I don't know. Little feedback. No, I don't have any feedback this week from Amy, but I do have feedback from my sister-in-law, Julie, who does not listen.
Yes. She gives us meta feedback. Yes.
She does. So we were having a discussion about not the last Money or Nazis segment we did, but the one before where you brought
The Eurostar?
the Eurostar that was delayed because of, and I got about that far in,
Yep.
and she said there was a bomb from World War II under the tracks, wasn't there? I'm like, wow. I was really impressed with my sister-in-law. Just
I'm not sure how she's not listening to this, because it sounds like we're at least covering the same things that she is covering, but
right in her wheelhouse, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I had from from family feedback.
Yeah. From Lisa, at the end of last week's show, I was talking about you guys watching the pro shot of Frozen. And then I had a line that I'd sat on for 20 minutes. She goes, that was, and she paused, and I said, terrible? And she goes, no, but I groaned. Like you'd have to care, like for something to be terrible, you'd have to care more about it. It was more of like it was almost like a sadness of like, I can't believe you did it, and I absolutely know why you did it, and I can't believe I'm married to you. Kind of, you know the ones, Dewayne. You get those.
I do. Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Danny,
familiar with that.
Danny, you're on board too, right? Anyway, so yeah.
Bachelor number 6. Bachelor number 6.
Totally what would you do on a Friday night? I like trains and airplanes. Where would we go? Oh, sorry. Make sure that the date doesn't bomb. Okay, sorry. I'll be quiet now. Okay.
Toddler number 6 informed me this week that he did watch the Favre documentary on Netflix. If it was a show.
Okay.
If it would have been a series like Quarterbacks,
yeah,
would not have watched it.
Okay.
Did you learn anything that hasn't already been covered on Talking to Todd? He said, nope. Between you guys and ESPN's nonstop coverage of it, and I'm not sure why, but ESPN apparently also has nonstop coverage because it's a sports story.
Ish. Sure.
Yeah. No news was broken in that doc.
Shocking. Yvonne, Toddler 1059, was over earlier today. Got a bit of feedback from her. She pointed out, she said that cold open from last week didn't, for people who aren't following, actually, I think it was from 2 weeks ago, about Shador.
Oh,
an athlete dropping. She's like, yeah, for those of us that don't follow sports, that was a little hard to get the joke. And I said, okay, well, no. So I said it was referencing Shador Sanders. We covered that in April where he dropped, and I explained the whole dropping thing. And then I said, and then if you remember, that then led to one of the idiots of the guy that sued the NFL for $100 million or whatever because of emotional distress, because that guy wasn't. She's like, oh, yeah, I remember that. She goes, oh, that's what that was about. And Lisa's comment was, if you have to explain the joke for 5 minutes, it doesn't make it any funnier. And I'm like, joke's doing a lot of heavy lifting right there. So anyway, annotated director's cut version of a cold open. That was cool. However, she also did want to point out, she said that she enjoyed the episode out of time numbers edition, all of the travel things, because she travels for work or did travel for work extensively. And
Uh-huh.
so she found it very interesting about how many bags of peanuts and miles, and she thought that was a very she enjoyed that one. So we do have at least one vote that was good.
Talked to two guys, one dug it, one didn't. Reviews are mixed.
Speaking of mixed reviews, do we have any actuallys?
Actually.
So the credit card thing,
Yeah.
for starters, when I added up 45 and 35 and 15 and 8 and 2, I got to 105%.
But not on the podcast, you didn't.
No, I didn't.
You said that's 100.
I said it was 100, but this is why we don't do math live on the air.
To be honest, I was tracking what you did. I was writing down the percentages, and I'm like, okay, so he's only got, wow, that's, you know what? We'll just let it go.
He's on
It's fine. It's fine. You know what? He sounded so confident.
Germans bomb Pearl Harbor? Let it go. Yep. So there was that.
Okay.
That was on me.
Yep.
Also,
Actually.
I was focused on the credit card part of it.
Okay.
It's not Todd guess a number, but do you know, or did you know, the breakdown between what percentage of the processing that happens is on credit cards versus the percentage of processing that happens that's on debit cards?
I do not.
Do you want to guess?
We'll say I had a number.
And while you're debating, I'm also going to throw out cash. Cash is the other way. So I've got this broken down into 3: credit cards, debit cards, and cash. And what percentage of payment methods?
All right.
Okay.
Let me think this through then.
Okay.
So if I say that credit cards is 50%, and then I say that debit cards is 50%, and then I say that cash is 60%,
then
I think that's
mathing like Dewayne.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, plus 2% for Diners Club.
Right. Yeah, don't forget that.
Yeah. Oh heck! As soon as you threw in cash, now I'm gonna say it is. Let's say 40% credit cards. You know what? 45% credit cards, 35% debit, and the rest is cash. Leave the change.
So that would be 20. I'll do the math for you there.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
4, 7, 9, 10. That's 100%. 45 credit, 35 debit, 20 cash.
Sure.
Johnny.
Actually.
Debit cards are the most popular payment method, with 54% of Americans using them for purchases.
Okay, that's an interesting number. That's an interesting tagline. That's 54% of Americans using them.
Correct.
Not 54% of the transactions by value. I'm going to weasel out of this one way or the other.
And then credit cards
are
used by approximately 36% of Americans.
Okay.
And then cash is used in about 14% of transactions.
Mostly bail money.
And then my third
actually
here, when you were listing worldwide,
yes,
who processes the most?
Yes.
When you listed Visa process the most money,
yes,
but in terms of globally, Union Pay is the largest card payment organization globally by sheer number of transactions. So this is a how many airplanes fly into Atlanta kind of question versus O'Hare. I mean, everybody can be number one depending on how you slice it. We're the number one airport. No, you're not. But maybe you are, depending.
Okay. All right. By the way, I went back to find the article that created this furor.
Yes.
Couple things.
It's being a little heavy with Furor, but okay.
Yeah. So,
Wait a second. Did we just go to Money or Nazis?
jeez. Speaking of that, I've got an update on the Teslas. Oh, sorry.
It's a credit card Furor. Money or Nazis. There it is.
So as I'm finding this, that was on CapitalOneShopping.com, but was referencing Statistia. Interestingly enough, if I just read the statements on here, it says Americans charge $6.58 trillion to their Visa cards in 2024. So to your point, that's Americans. That could be, that doesn't say consumer or business spending, just Americans. The next bullet point says consumers charge $2.78 trillion to MasterCard. The next bullet point, U.S. consumers charge $1.19 trillion to the American Express. The next bullet point, American consumers charge $212 billion to Discover. So I'm not clear at this point whether this covers just consumers or the AI that wrote this piece was imprecise in its language.
Because that's a distinct possibility.
I was going to say, nobody's writing this crap. Anyway, we made multiple mistakes. That's weird. You know what? We should write this down. That today was the last week was the week that we made lots of mistakes, other than Spaceballs.
Oh, speaking
Yeah.
of Spaceballs, did you know that before making Spaceballs, Mel Brooks went to George Lucas and asked for permission to parody Star Wars?
George said no, didn't he?
No, George is okay with it.
Oh, okay.
Just as long as Lone Star didn't dress like Han Solo. So Brooks dressed him like Indiana Jones. That's this week's Spaceballs follow-up. Sorry, did we
Yeah.
clear all of the actuallys?
Nope, there's another actually.
Actually,
So a couple of weeks ago, you were talking about the Switch 2 coming out, and they could brick your Switch, which is different than the rain gauge brick that you were using. It's becoming a very brick-centric podcast. But so you had said, what is it that if you
jailbreak your Switch,
Yeah.
they can brick it.
Yes.
It's in the EULA.
So there's some. So reading through, not that I wanted to, it found me a couple of things. Sorry. So a number of people have pointed out that clause that if you jailbreak it, they may issue a software update that may cause your device to become inoperable. That was also, I believe, in the EULA of the Switch 1. It was also in the EULA of the Wii. It's also in the EULA of Sony and Xbox. It is sort of boilerplate.
Oh.
It's the 50 pages where they're like, hey, by the way, before you can use the thing, you have to agree to read the click. I agree, whatever.
Just let me get to my Spider-Man game.
Yeah. Look, it cost $80. I really want to play this. So that language is sort of pervasive and has been there for years. People just kind of found it. However, there is another issue came up, though, that there is some sort of like an SD card that you can put in to do the jailbreaking that allows you to, I have no idea what it does. If at the point you're jailbreaking your Switch 2 so that you can beat a teenager at Mario Kart, like you've made some choices in life that you need to think about. Anyway, that said,
not wrong.
They have reserved the right and have already started that if you use that jailbreak item on your Switch, they won't brick your Switch, but they will permanently ban you from online gaming.
Oh, which is so much worse.
You can use it, but you can only play against yourself, and you are now banned permanently from others because you may have given yourself an unfair advantage because you may have reduced reaction time or whatever. So congratulations, we didn't brick it. You can still use it, but you violated the terms of service of the service that we provide. Thank you very much.
Dirty, dirty cheaters.
Okay. All right. What do we have for follow-up? Besides the Spaceballs, we already did the follow-up on.
Yes. So we had dinner on Friday night with Dave and Karen, who own property at Sun Valley Lake.
Oh, home of the I ain't paying for nothing.
I ain't paying no HOA dues.
Yeah.
So had some I got a little bit more insight.
Okay.
Yes, everything that we said was true. Yes,
Thank
he
God.
is an idiot. Yes, he definitely is an idiot. But now he's playing the long game and has gone to his state representative,
Okay.
who introduced legislation that would redefine a public or private lake so that every lake would be public and none of this would matter. The irony here is the guy that sponsored the legislation has no lakes in his district.
Sure.
Because
Yes.
why not? Right?
Yeah.
Yes. So it did not make it out of committee this last session, but because it's a two-part session, it may rear its ugly head again next year. So hopefully we don't have to cover this more.
Welcome to Legislative Watch Navigable Water Edition. Again.
Again.
Well, looks like the canoe got stuck in the
Culvert.
in the entryway. Yeah, in the culvert. Not looking good for navigable water.
Oh, by the way, we celebrated Bobby Bonilla Day again this week.
Man, it comes around faster and faster every year. Yeah.
That's what
We didn't,
Amy.
I'll tell you what though, we didn't celebrate as much as Bobby did.
No. Yeah, and you know what? When I wished Amy a happy Bobby Bonilla Day after you wished me, her response, wow, that keeps coming around faster and faster.
Yep.
Every year. Yep. We to all those who celebrate. There you go. Yep.
By the way, and this isn't exactly the same kind of thing because he's still getting paid through 2035 and he stopped playing. This was a deal in 91, so
Right.
It's not exactly the same thing. But I believe on July 1st, which is Bobby Bonilla Day, in the NBA, the Milwaukee Bucks waived Damian Lillard, but he still had like $120 million left on his contract for the next 2 years. So they waived him and then stretched out the payments over 5 years because I guess that's legal. I don't know. Anyway, so he's going to get his money over time, just a little bit over time. And somebody was like, hey, I was reading an article that said, speaking of Bobby Bonilla Day, and I'm like, that's not Bobby Bonilla Day at all. The dude's getting paid. He's in his 60s and he's getting paid. Anyway.
And at 1.1 million, he's making more. He's still making more than many people in the Mets roster.
He's still better than many people on the Mets roster.
Also true.
Yes.
Also true.
Also, we did a With Us, Not With Us game around Dukes of Hazzard a number of months ago where I called out and you were trying to figure out if people were with us or not with us.
Yes.
There's been an update.
Oh, badly? Okay.
Yeah, these only go one direction. Because if it went the other direction, this wouldn't be in follow-up. This would probably be part of the cold open. Holy crap. So, but I'm going to test your Dukes of Hazzard knowledge. Dewayne, sadly, Rick Hurst passed away at the age of 79. Rick Hurst. Do you know which beloved Dukes of Hazzard character Rick Hurst played?
Was he one of the replacement Dukes?
He was not. I said
okay, because
beloved.
we don't acknowledge them.
Yeah, I said beloved.
Oh,
yep.
Rick Hurst. Did he play the dog?
That would also be amazing. No, he played Cletus.
Oh,
Cletus Hogg. So
okay.
Yes, one of the other deputies. So yeah.
Well, I remember Cletus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In his
not Enos.
No. That's
Cletus.
His name's Sonny. Enos is
Enos
Sonny.
Was Sonny. You're right. Yes,
yeah.
Thank you.
Or Sonny was Enos. That's a different. Yeah, that's yeah. Rick, in reading the article about his passing, read that and read the other things that he did, and his son went also into acting, but he was talking about his time on the Dukes of Hazzard, and it was a great time. But as he pointed out, everybody knew that the star of the show was the car, and we were there just to act around the car. So
Seems fair.
I was going to say, having watched quite a bit of the Dukes of Hazzard, I can say we acted around the car is an accurate statement. So anyway,
Acted using a lot of lift out of acting right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Holy crap, we're at like 30 minutes. We're just done with follow-up. Where are we at?
We're not quite done with follow-up yet.
Nope.
Because Jimmy Falwell passed away this week, and Amy looked at me and said, well, I could have sworn he was already not with us. And I'm like, do we need to? Yeah, you need follow-up this week. Okay, fine. Yep. Jimmy Falwell now not with us. Yep. Anyway, okay, so now we're at 30 minutes-ish.
Okay.
And quick promotions.
Yes.
ToddCon 3, Back to the Minors.
Sure. Major League.
That's the third Major League movie. Very good. Yes.
Okay. Or it's also the slogan of the Sacramento A's this season. It's on their season ticket brochure. Back to the Minors.
No, that'd be next season. That's next season's. Because this year they're going to the minors. Next year they're going
back to the minors.
Back to the minors. There it is. Yeah. Def Leppard concert on the 14th of August and the 15th. ToddCon Breaking Wind. Did you log any miles this week?
Since we recorded last, I believe, I think I did last weekend. Sure, I got some in. I think according to my Apple Watch, I believe my June mileage was about 170 miles.
More than I got. Well, and the problem with that is I got up in the morning and I started out and I rode to Quickstar to get some nourishment for the ride because I didn't have anything good. And I paused the workout when I went into Quickstar, and I came out of Quickstar and I started riding again. And 30 minutes later, I looked at my watch and went, I wonder how far I've been. Oh, no. Okay, well, that's going to be off. And then clicked go. So overall ride, an hour and 52 minutes. Time actually tracked, an hour and 32 minutes.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
But still 23 miles that day. So I'm...
Thank goodness this is in like 3 months, so that I've got enough time to really get moving here.
17 days.
Sorry, what?
17 days from the start of Ragbri.
I gotta go. I gotta put some out. I'll be back. Hold on. 17 days.
That's something else that Todd ought to know.
And I'm here,
yes, Queen,
to remind Todd of the mess Todd made when he answered wrong. Todd ought to know.
That's right. This edition of Todd Ought to Know brought to us by a chart that was sent over, I believe, by Toddler -18. It's a cross reference. So the things down the left side, and then the things across the top, and then all of the squares of these things that match up. So Todd, if I said Chekhov's gun, what's the definition there of Chekhov's gun?
Oh, he never had a gun. He only had a phaser.
It's not wrong.
So
mostly he just stayed in the seat. They didn't let him go out much.
Yeah. I'm not going on the surface. Were you nuts? I'm in a red shirt. Anyway, so you're saying if you say Chekhov's gun, I say any gun that appears in the first act must be fired in the second act.
Third. It's the third act.
Third act.
But yes.
Sure. Okay.
But yes, it has to be used later. But yes, you're right. Yes. Okay. How about Schrodinger's cat?
That is essentially a cat in a box, maybe alive or dead, and you don't know. until you open. Without looking, you don't know whether the cat is alive or dead.
Excellent. You're 2 for 2.
All right.
Third one.
Yeah.
Occam's razor.
The most likely explanation. Sorry, the simplest explanation is the most likely explanation of an incident.
Correct. Okay. And lastly,
yeah,
Murphy's Law.
Sorry, there was a Blue Thunder joke coming to mind, but it didn't work. Anyway, that's a deep cut. Like,
wow, that is a really deep cut.
Yeah. Jaffo's always going to be a problem. Anyway, no, Murphy's Law, whatever can go wrong will go wrong.
That is... Okay, so you are now 4 for 4.
All right.
The premise of this chart. Todd, can you tell me what would be Occam's gun?
Yep. Okay.
Because if you've got gun, cat, razor, and law across the top, and you've got Chekhov, Schrodinger, Occam, and Murphy down the left-hand side, what would be Occam's gun?
Yeah. Okay. So Occam's gun is sorry, I'm trying to, I'm putting them together and it doesn't, the wheels aren't lining up correctly on the slot machine here. Because basically it's like, Occam's gun would be the most simple solution to a problem is shooting it.
The simplest way to kill off a character is to shoot them. You are 100% correct.
Okay.
Excellent. Very nice. Yep.
All right.
Yep. How about Chekhov's razor?
Man. Okay. Chekhov's razor. So wait, Occam's. Okay. So Occam was the most. So to kill off characters with a gun. So there, carry the 6. Okay, then the 5. Okay, and then nope, that's more than 100. Okay, subtract those.
Would you
okay.
would you like to try Chekhov's cat instead?
Chekhov's cat feels like any cat that appears in the first act must kill somebody in the third act.
The way this chart reads is if a box is introduced in the first act, a cat must sit in it by the third act.
Okay. All right. I see it. Yeah. Okay. Got it.
Would you like to try Murphy's gun?
Anything that can go wrong with a gun will?
Yeah, any gun that can go off will go
off. Okay.
Okay, let's do one more. How about Schrodinger's law?
You will it is impossible for you to know whether things are going bad or not
until they do. Nice. You did pretty well with that. Nice work this week.
Yeah. Okay. Now my brain's broken. Okay. That's.
Should we do some idiots? What idiot did you bring besides me? What idiot did you bring along this week?
So this is sports adjacent, but not actually sports. But to set it up, Dewayne, are you aware of the worldwide major soccer competition that is going on in the United States as we speak?
Is this CONCACAF Gold?
The other major worldwide CONCACAF Gold Cup is going on, but there's even a bigger competition that's going on in the United States at the exact same time. Exactly. It's called the Club World Cup. FIFA just started it. It's going on. It's been going on for a couple of weeks. Some of the biggest clubs in the world are here competing for massive prize. Anyway, FIFA wants in on that. They want the money, and they came up with some qualification stuff, whatever. So Manchester City is here, and Real Madrid and Barcelona, but you've got representatives from Africa, from South America, a couple of North American teams, New Zealand, a team from Australia. So you've got, 36, 48.
Did Real Salt Lake make it?
No, they did not. Lionel Messi got to play because Inter Miami was invited because they didn't really make it clear. As soon as they could last year, they said, "Oh, and by the way, this is the qualifications for MLS." And everybody went, "That doesn't sound right." Shut up, it's him. Anyway,
shut up, it's Messi. Okay.
Anyway, yes.
Sure, why not?
Okay. I told you that because it doesn't apply to any of this. So one of the places they've been playing is at the Hard Rock Stadium, which is located near which metro area, Dewayne?
Near Miami?
Yes, it is near Miami. It's in Miami Gardens, which is quasi adjacent to Miami, but not really.
Sort of,
there's a big difference between Miami and Miami Gardens. Anyway, at the end of what was it? It was Inter Miami versus Palmeiras. 60,000 people attended. It ended at night. Then people, as they're wont to do, there's no public transportation because it's kind of just it's way out in the suburbs kind of thing. So people started saying, "Oh, I'm going to grab an Uber. I'm going to grab a Lyft," and they started following signs that said, "Ride share pickup lot is lot 30. Follow signs." Then they kept walking and crossed a very busy street, and then kept walking. And after 40 minutes, arrived at the side of a street, just the side of a street, not a parking lot, at which they said, "Oh yeah, this is lot 30. Lot 30 isn't an actual parking lot, and it is located more than 2 miles away from a stadium that has no public transportation. And the way you get there is just leave the stadium and just keep walking.
By design?
Yes, because what really screwed up people, though, is Uber and Lyft can drop off at the stadium. So if you took an Uber or a Lyft, they drop you off
right
at
there.
The stadium. To pick one up, more than 2 miles away, completely different place. Now, this has been going on. This is where the Dolphins play. This is where Formula One takes place.
Yeah.
These rules have been in effect. So much so that because this is basically in a neighborhood, people in the neighborhood have bought golf carts specifically to charge people $20 to take them from the stadium to quote unquote lot 30, which again is simply the side of a busy road away from the stadium. The Athletic talked to one person who was picking people up in his 6-person golf cart. And it turns out that 6-person golf cart wasn't his. He's renting that from his neighbor until he can make enough money to buy his own 6-person golf cart. And again, to get picked up by your Uber or Lyft, they charge $20 a person.
Per person.
Per person.
That one night will buy you a golf cart.
Yeah, right? At the end of this, it was over 90 degrees. There's no water.
Because it's late June in Miami.
Exactly. And people from out of the country who were simply trying to follow signs, which, by the way, basically it says lot 30 this way, and you start walking. That's the only sign. There were many things of where police officers were being asked, "Where's lot 30?" And the answer was just keep walking. Anyway, apparently, once they get you to the stadium, they're perfectly happy, but they don't want those cars anywhere near. Anyway, so not great. A lot of people from South America were very, very confused as to why anybody would do this. And, that's one of the stadiums that's hosting World Cup matches next year. So this is going to get even worse. Anyway, there you go. Be careful if you go to a game, a match, or an F1 race at Hard Rock Stadium. Don't fall for lot 30. It's not a lot. And it's not 30 minutes away. It's much further.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and apparently this is the way Miami wants it to be. So good on them, I guess. I don't. Although, by the way, real quick before you get to your idiot, I read all this thing and I'm like, hey, wait a minute. When I traveled to New York at the end of May, I flew into JFK, plane landed at midnight. I was going to grab a taxi into town because I wasn't going to take the subway and get in, take the subway at 1 a.m. So I went to get in the taxi line, and the taxi line was long, very, very long.
Uh-huh.
So I decided I should just grab a Lyft and I'll pay the Lyft price. At which point I went to go pick up to get on the shuttle bus. Because of all the construction, the ride sharing is also at an off-site lot.
Oh dear.
30-minute bus ride to be dropped off at a random parking lot. Now, in this case, there were police. It was well lit. There were people in vests, and they were handing out water. But it was a 30-minute drive from JFK, which somehow managed to not put you 30 minutes closer to New York. Anyway, there's ways of doing this. And what I'm saying is JFK figured out the right way to do this. And Miami's like, we could set some, you know what? Screw it. They'll figure it out. How about you? What'd you bring?
So this also came from Toddler -18.
Okay.
At work today, she had to send an ordinance violation letter to someone, a resident, regarding their dog poop bucket because it was a health concern and needed to be removed. And it was the first time that she had ever, in her working life, written the phrase dog poop bucket.
If she worked in the federal government, that'd be on a daily basis. We just got a poop bucket around here of all sorts. Anyway, sorry. We're getting close again.
She thought we needed to know this.
Okay.
Because the owner of the dog poop bucket, I'm like, how bad is this bucket where it warrants a violation letter for a health ordinance? Also, if somebody starts picking up and throwing the poop, then they're violating the ordinance.
Yeah.
But we won't go. They discussed this in the office. What they want to know is if the dog was directly pooping in the bucket or how the poop was getting in there. Because if the dog is directly pooping in the bucket, then that's a trick we need to see.
I was going to say at that point, that's not an ordinance. That's not a violation. That's a get that thing on YouTube.
That's stupid pet tricks is what
Yes.
that is.
Yeah.
Apparently, the neighbor complained about the smell. And when, generally when you call City Hall, the first response is, well, did you talk to them about it? Right?
Yes.
Before we go down this path, did you talk to them about it? She had. When she asked the neighbor to do something about it, she was told it's not on your property, mind your own business. Them's fighting words.
By the way, we probably just for the sake of it, given we also have yet another person, we should have probably issued a trigger warning for at least one of our listeners about a neighbor on neighbor ordinance kind of thing that escalated to City Hall, where discussions had to be had about topics that nobody ever even knew they were going to have a topic. Like, I never even knew that was the thing. And now we're having to make a decision.
Sorry.
That's what Danny calls a Tuesday.
Oh, by the way, Danny is not going to run for re-election this fall, and he will complete his term as mayor this fall. So congratulations to Danny. His days of dealing with poop buckets are hopefully coming to a close. If he does after he's done being mayor, we may have other discussions. Anywho,
he's gonna know all the ways to get around the stuff now.
Poop Bucket Lady, my nominee this week for Idiot of the Week. Have you watched something? Watch anything good this week? Watch anything this week?
Saturday night, we went over and watched the F1 movie.
Yes, we did too. What's your review?
Overall, I would say it is pretty good. It was enjoyable. It was a fun summer movie. There's parts where you just have to let things go. We had less of that than we had in Mission Impossible. At no point did we have a wetsuit moment, so that was fine. It's cinematography is great.
Yep.
Storyline is fine. Enough that you were actually near the end. You're like, I'm not totally I think I know how this is going to end, but I'm not sure how it's going to end. I mean, that's great.
That's good. Yep. Could have gone a couple of ways.
Could have, right?
Yep.
Did pretty good to capture, I think, Formula One. I think no movie has ever talked about tires more than this movie. I think that's important. Yeah. Overall, we had a very good time. It's what you want out of a summer movie. How about you? What did you guys think?
Towards the end, and Amy just starts laughing hysterically. Because if you remember, Amy is a big Lewis Hamilton fan.
Yeah.
Regardless of which team he's racing for, she loves Lewis. And we get towards the end, and it's a 3-lap shootout at Abu Dhabi. And Hamilton was a consulting producer on this thing. And she's like, this is how he lost the title, a 3-lap shootout at this racetrack. The only thing that's different is it's not Max. And she just thought it was hilarious that they set this up, that this is how it's going to end. And this is how this really happened. And this is how Lewis lost the shootout. Anyway, so there was that. I saw a post. I'm just going to read this. There's a truly nail-biting sequence in the F1 movie where Brad Pitt's character gets into an ice bath while he's wearing a pair of AirPods Max and proceeds to dunk his head in the water just enough to hit the charging port, which is so reckless. They're not even IP67. And I doubt that he purchased Apple Care Plus for them. What a madman. They weren't as enamored of the movie as we were.
Again, it's not a documentary about Formula One. It's a movie.
No, but there were some behind the scenes kinds of training things.
Yeah.
That went on that I don't think you don't normally get to see. Yes. Unless you're watching Drive to Survive.
Yes.
Which I think a lot of people that are going to this movie have already watched all 12 seasons of Drive to Survive.
It's amazing the way that they integrated the actual Formula One grid and driver into the movie. They got to do some really cool stuff. Once you get Formula One on board, which mostly involves writing a massive check.
Thanks, Apple.
They, some of when they lined up at the British Grand Prix, they were on the starting grid for the British Grand Prix, I believe 2 years ago, not last year. F1 let them do that to get that shot.
Yeah, because Carlos was still driving for Ferrari, and I'm like, well, that ain't right.
Yeah. And the national anthem, they were there as well for the national. Yes. So.
Yep. Well, and the negotiations that they had to make with the story so that they got relegated to the back of the grid, because that's where they could be in real life, was the back of the grid.
Yes.
So that's where they are. Oh, we got to go to the back of the grid. Fine.
When they showed up at their headquarters, do you know whose building that was, with the big lake out in front and the 2 stories of the glass and at least the exterior shots of their Apex GP headquarters? Do you know where that was filmed?
Is that Williams?
No, McLaren.
Oh, that's McLaren. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like, oh, okay. So
her bike too.
Yes.
She rode her bike to work.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, there is some criticism, some of it fair. Brad Pitt telling supposedly one of the up and coming technical directors, by the way, we need to be faster in the corners. Hadn't considered that. Thank God I brought the guy. This guy. Yeah. Yeah, and then there was a scene in the I don't even remember exactly which one. Lisa reminded me. Lisa leaned over. She's like, "This is not a thing." I'm like, "I understand." She's like, "I'll let it go, but that's not a thing." I'm like, "I get it." Um, and then I'm letting everything go. I'm letting everything go. And then there's the scene in Las Vegas, and I'm just like, okay, this is a problem because this doesn't work. Like this doesn't, and it's a night race, and they're at a club because they have whatever. That's fine, cool. I just got to say it, and then we'll just sit back and enjoy. Anyway,
It's a night race.
yeah. Anyway, enjoyable movie. Fun summer blockbuster. I would say I think we absolutely enjoyed that one a lot more than we enjoyed the last Mission Impossible one. Like scads. It was miles ahead, I would say.
Laps. It was laps ahead.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Sorry, the joke, it's kilometers ahead, actually, I guess.
We started watching Stick on Apple TV Plus on Apple TV on Apple TV.
Okay. All right. Wow. All right. Yeah. Okay.
Wow. And because it's been touted as the next Ted Lasso, I can tell you it is not the next Ted Lasso.
Okay.
We got done with the first episode. Amy looks over. Would you be watching this show if it weren't about golf? And I'm not sure. I'm willing to give it another episode or two. We'll see.
We haven't seen that, but we did watch Owen Wilson on Hot Ones.
Wow.
So there's that. I mean, if instead of watching him in Steak, if you just want to watch him on Hot, yeah,
that's okay.
He's got a couple of good stories. So
okay.
Yeah. I also, you watch him there and you're like, oh my God. I said to Lisa, I'm like, oh, he's not acting. That's just him. And she's like, 60 movies. He's played the same character and it's himself.
Yes.
This is just who he just shows up and like, hey, can we get more of Owen? That's what you got.
I'll do what I can, but I'm already giving you all I got. And then I'm also, again, kind of like I'm sort of watching West Wing. I never watched Castle. Nathan Fillion, writer.
He's a writer that solves crimes.
Tags along with a New York City police detective.
Sure.
And helps solve crimes.
Of course.
Right, because why wouldn't you? I never watched Castle. All 8 seasons are now on Prime. And Prime has been feeding me this. Like, okay, sure, why not, right? It was nominated for some Emmys. It's kind of a procedural. It's whatever. I mean, we've watched this show dozens of times, right?
Quirky outsider helps the cops solve crimes.
Right, exactly.
Sure.
But I didn't watch this one. So this is all new to me. Of course, I don't remember a whole lot anymore. So almost everything that I watch is new to me. So let's just, I'm just going to put a pin in that, set it aside. But anyway, but this also leads me to the thing that I learned this week.
All right.
Because when I'm watching this on Prime in the basement on my Apple TV, there are 3-ish ad breaks on Prime.
Okay.
When I'm watching it.
Yeah.
When I'm watching it in the living room on my Apple TV, there are ad breaks. When I'm watching it on my iPad, there are ad breaks. But when I go to the guest bedroom and I dial it up on my Roku, I can watch it without ad breaks. And I went, well, that's weird. But I am now going to be watching in the guest bedroom on the extra Roku from now on. Why are you in the guest bedroom? Because that's where I can watch it without ads. It wasn't a big, sometimes what we learned aren't big groundbreaking things. It's just little bitty things.
There's no way that should be working. But anyway, good on you. Don't just enjoy it as long as it lasts.
Don't update the software. Do not. Software update. Nope. I'm good the way I am. Thanks, Apple. How about you? What'd you learn this week?
So, last weekend we decided to go out just for some fun. We said, hey, let's just go out and look around. We're just going to look at some cars. We're not going to buy any cars. But we're going to go look at cars. Okay, fine. Just going to go look at cars. Partly because, we enjoy having an electric vehicle. And if you want to buy an electric vehicle, I have a sneaking suspicion that certain tax credits might be going poof in the very near future. So if you're thinking about one, you may want to think about one a lot now. So
Quickly.
Yes. So let's just go look and see what's here at the undisclosed location. And like any good competitive market, almost all of our car dealerships are owned by only two people. So there's on one side of the freeway is the one guy that owns most of it. And on the other side of the freeway is the person that owns almost all the rest. Actually, then the Ford dealer is a separate one. And the one that we have a Hyundai, we have the Hyundai Kona. We enjoy that. We have a Hyundai Tucson. We like Hyundais. Go to the Hyundai dealer, take a look there. There's an interesting Kia that's also electric that would be interesting to look at. We went there, same group. Here's the problem with our dealer here in town, which is if you go to the website and you say, show me the window sticker, it fails on all of their stuff. If you go through the dealer's site, through the manufacturer's site, so show me the window sticker. I can't do that. And the reason why, and I knew about this before, but goodness. So when we were looking a few years ago, because we live in a harsh climate, they want to make sure that you take good care of your car. So every car has the sticker price, and then attached to the sticker is another sticker that the dealer has added on. And every single car, they put a clear coat bra protection on the front of it, a clear coat paint scam, whatever. Some
Fair.
sort of, I think, seat protector, even if you've got leather seats. And now they've also added some sort of film that goes on your windshield to protect your windshield from rocks. I don't know. Anyway, they did this. They've been doing this for years. And like 3-4 years ago, this was like a $1,400 add-on to every single car. Dewayne, you want to guess what that package now? Basically, do you want to guess how much they are upcharging for every single car for that package of fine protection features?
It was $1,400?
Yes, give or take. Kind of went up. The more expensive the car, the more expensive the package. But
Of course.
yeah.
Sure. Is it now $3,000? Has it doubled?
Oh, it hasn't doubled, but it's now $2,300. They just tack on to the price of the car. And it's nothing you can say no to because they've already done it to all of the cars. So we can't take it off. So we can't. So what I relearned again was while we might buy a car, I doubt we will. I can guarantee you we're not buying it from the dealer where we've already had to pay for the optional undercoating. My goodness. We just go to another dealer. Crap. He owns that one and that one and that one.
Do they do the same thing over in Vegas?
Yeah, I don't believe so. You just have to try to get your brand new car drive through the streets of Vegas without getting in a wreck to get it home.
Oof, good luck with that.
Yeah.
The music is Happy Boy by Kevin MacLeod. You can subscribe to our award-winning podcast with visiting car shopper Todd Prinz, wherever you get your cars. Also, wherever you get your pods, any of those. Just search Talkin' and the number 2. There's no G and no space. You can stop by and do they sell cars in Tuba City?
I'll ask Kevin.
Smart. Yes. You know what? I would not recommend doing that. Thanks to our listeners, our sponsors, our contributors, and our roving correspondents. We appreciate you. And as always, you can send us your feedback on this episode or any episode to feedback@talkingtotodd.com. Todd?
You mentioned that Danny has announced that he's not going to be running for re-election. And I think that's, good for him for serving his term. My first thought was, wonder what kind of campaign it would take to get him elected as a write-in candidate. Just, hey, toddlers, like if you want to, like, maybe we should see if we can just get him elected as a write-in candidate. I know he's not on the ballot, but come on. Just show him how much we care. Hey, Danny, good news. We're gonna go all out. We're gonna use the last of the sports book money, and we're gonna commit here. So, and if anybody's really, really wants to help, it would be a great idea if you could pack up and move to Dallas Center before the voter registration deadline, which at this point, I don't know, could have been 6 years ago. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, we'll work this out. We can, I think we can get this done. 4 more years. 4 more years.
4 more years. I'm sure we're going to have feedback on that and many, many other things.
Guarantee you that one.
We'll try to clean it up next week. Until then, we're here. We're talking to Todd.
Would you believe Tuba City has a Porsche dealer?
No.
Well, that's good because they don't. But it'd be funny if they did. Is there a problem?
No, I just couldn't find it quickly enough. In the last election, Danny got 468 votes. There were 82 votes for his opponent, and there were 22 write-in votes. All you need is 500 votes to win this thing. It's to get 500 people to write your name in. How many people live in Dallas Center, Iowa? 1,901. And it's grown since then because that was the 2020 census. That's a 25% turnout. And the next election is a presidential election. So we can get 500 votes here. I wish I could have come up with this number while we were still recording. Oh, hey, look, we're still recording.
We are still recording. I will say this. If we're going to do this, we should stop planning on the microphone because Danny knows where you live. and he will also be there for ToddCon 3.